Aloha, good morning. Welcome to Kahu's Corner, Monday morning, first Monday of 2026. How fast has time flown? We've been talking about it every now and then on this Kahu's Corner, and as we step into the new year, I'm sure it'll go even quicker. But this morning, I just wanted to wish everyone who's been faithful to jump on Kahu's Corner, whether it was on Mondays, on Wednesdays, on Saturdays, or however, maybe all 3 days, and to just start the new year off with you folks in 2026 is a blessing for me. So I just want to wish all of you folks, your families, friends, yourselves, a safe and blessed 2026. And again, this is a time where last year, just last week, we probably just told ourselves, what can I do different in next year that I've been doing in this year? And now that we're already in the next year, we can look back and tell ourselves, what can I do different that I did last year, that moving forward now, that I can improve on? And the biggest thing, people make um, New Year's resolutions on number one, their health. Sure, it's an important thing, very, very important thing in our lives, our health. How can we improve our health? The next is financial stability. How can I improve uh, the financial state I'm in? Even if you're doing good, hey, there's always room for improvement. No matter what subject we talk about family, relationships. How can I improve on my relationships with others? How can I improve on my health? How can I improve on my finances, at my work? Whatever it may be in your life, that when you look back in 2025 and now you're looking forward, how can I improve on it? And we will just we've been on this story maybe for the last 3 weeks or couple of weeks, but it was a story of the Israelites. I mean, they was in bondage for some 400 years in Egypt, just being in bondage. And God had said that this is my people and I'm going to bring them out of bondage. And Moses led them out of Egypt, and he had to depend on what God had told him. You can go back and read this whole story in Exodus on how everything went down. And as God brought them out of Egypt, he promised them that he was going to take them to a land that was prepared for them. And what would have took maybe a week, a few days or so from Egypt to the promised land, it took 40 years. Why did it take 40 years? If you go back to Exodus and read the story, the nation of Israel wasn't grateful for God taking them out of Egypt. Maybe at the beginning, but then they went back to the old ways. They started demanding things from God. They started living outside of His protection. Even if God had chosen them. He wasn't gonna, not give up on them. Yeah, he was at one point, but Moses had talked God out of it. That's how close Moses and God was. God actually listened to Moses. But God knew that plan from the very beginning of creation. That it was going to come down to that point where God was saying, you know what? I don't need all this grief with this people, this drama. But Moses talked to God. He interceded on behalf of the nation of Israel. Just take that picture and walk through the Bible and see how it ends up when Jesus shows up in the New Testament. But God said, you know what? Okay, we're going to stick it out with these people. I'm going to lead them. And then like I said, what should have took a few days or weeks turned into years and years of just this nation not learning how to grow closer to God, to understand Him, to live by His commandments. And after 400 years, wouldn't you think if God had saved you from 400 years of bondage, that you got to change something? You go into a new beginning. Something got to change in your life to make it better. And they didn't understand that. And when they got to the promised land, there were circumstances, as you read, that everyone over 20 years old and Moses himself wasn't going to enter the promised land because of all the grief they gave to God as it was coming through the wilderness. And now God said, you know what? We're going to do a fresh start. Everybody under 20, he handpicked Joshua and Caleb, and he said, you're going to lead these people into the promised land, the land that I have prepared for you to take. And it's kind of right now. Whatever happened in the past in 2025 is in the past. We're walking into a new year. What does God have for us? What does God want us to improve on going into 2026? We can look back, like I said, we can see all the obvious stuff. Again, health, money, relationship. That's the big three I can just pop off, and everybody in some form or another of a resolution, I can almost guarantee 100% one of those three is at the top of their list. And sometimes, and I can stand at the beginning of the line, when I come to this point, either walking into the new year or right at the inside of the new year, right where we stay now, that we put God at not at the first, and it's good to. God always gives us a chance to just look back and say, okay, what can I do different? Even on a daily basis, hey God, today I pray that I can do your will, do what you want for me today. Just take it day by day. I know I'm going to fail you somewhere along the line, but my goal today is to understand your word and to grow closer and to be a light for you wherever it may be. It might be in a store, it might be at work. How can it be a light for God or a witness for you in this coming year? The task might be small, the task might be big. If you guys go back to yesterday's message, they had the team from Imiola that went to Israel a few weeks back, and they had Q&A, and they had their family from Israel, but they talked about all this. What is God's calling on your life? Everyone is different. I get that. And they had the opportunity to do what God called them to do. And it's no different than what God had for these Israelites, his people, as they was preparing to go into the promised land. And there was some stipulations. It wasn't just, oh, okay, God said, I'm going to just take my people out of bondage in Egypt and lead them through the wilderness. Should take, just a few days or weeks and take them to the place I had prepared for them. It came with the nation of Israel had to do something to get something with God. It wasn't a free ride. And there was consequence. If they didn't understand what God wanted for them, there was consequence to pay. And it wasn't very good. It took them 40 years to figure it out. And most of them didn't even get to the promised land. Their children got there. But God still had the same things for the younger generation. He doesn't change, even till today in our lives. He wants the same thing for us right now as he did for the Israelites thousands and thousands of years ago. God doesn't change what he wants for us. But if we put our heart into it and work at it and truly try to do it, there is good things that's going to happen on the other side. And he makes promises along the way. Promises that he's going to keep. He's not going to make promises that he can't keep. And we'll just hit a few verses here in Joshua in the first chapter. Like I said, Moses has gone already. It's a new beginning. It's a new time. It's a new place. And God just gets some commandments that wasn't he didn't change. The commandments was the same from when he led the people out of Egypt with Moses. It didn't change. But now it's a new beginning now. They're fixing to prepare to cross the Jordan River into the promised land, and this is what God tells them. He tells Joshua, Caleb, the young nation of Israel, and he says this in verse 7. Joshua chapter 1 verse 7. He says, "Be strong and very courageous." Anything we do in our life that's going to take time and a lot of effort, God's telling us, hey, just be strong and very courageous. But then he says something that we ought to do day by day. He says, be very careful to obey all the instructions Moses gave you. Do not deviate from them, turning either to the right or to the left. Then you will be successful in everything you do. God has people in our lives to guide us, here. It could be a pastor. It could be someone that you trust that can come alongside and say, I don't know. I don't like to step on your feet, but maybe there's something in this new year that we can hold on, that we can do different. Then maybe the outcome might be different. And this people now, they got to depend on Joshua and Caleb. But there's somebody in our lives that can come alongside and give us godly wisdom, godly counsel on things that we're preparing to do in this year. And then he says, let me see, in verse 8, most important, top of his list, God's list, he says, study this book, his word of instruction continually. Then he says, meditate on it day and night so that you will be sure to obey everything written in it. He says, study his word. Open it up. It's a new year. Just open it up somewhere. Wherever God has you in his word, it's a good thing. The Bible doesn't work if the covers are closed. It doesn't work in our life like that. If we open it up and see what God's trying to tell us, to grow closer to him, and read his word continually, he says. He says, study this book of instruction continually, meditate on it day and night, so you will be sure to obey everything written in it. And if we do that, look at what he says. Only then you will prosper and succeed in all you do. So that tells me the most important thing going into 2026, if I work hard at it, is to open his word, to meditate on it continually, day and night, and just have the faith in God that if I keep doing what he wants, that's his will for me right now, going into 2026, is to read his word, continue to do it day and night, meditate on it, and then I got to have the faith that what God just promised me is going to happen. This is the promise. And then you will prosper and succeed in all you do. That should be at the top of my list right now. Grow closer to God. Listen to what he has to say. Read what he has to say to me. And just have the faith that whatever I desire in my heart, he already knows it. We read about that in Psalms 37. And just do my part, because God's going to do his part. It's just at his own liking and choosing that he'll fulfill that promise, what he just told me in his book, in his word. And then he says in verse 9, the most popular verse we see around on signs and people's books and everywhere, Joshua 1:9, he says, this is my command. So that's what he commanded, and this is his command. He says to be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged. And here's another promise we can live with. For the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. So in 2026, there's going to be some big decisions people got to make. I have to make, you have to make. Like I said, it's got to include your health, your finances, relationships. Um, it takes, like God said, it takes, you got to be strong, you got to be courageous. Don't be afraid or don't be discouraged. If God has laid something on your heart and you prayed about it and it's just keeping you up at night, be strong and courageous. Don't be afraid or discouraged. Something you gotta walk it out and just know and have the faith that God said, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. I mean, that's where our faith is, that's where our hope is. That no matter what I decide or you decide to make big changes, um, you might be afraid, you might be dismayed, you might have sleepless nights, whatever it is. Whatever God has laid on your heart to do different in 2026 that you have been doing in 2025, um, just know that promise is, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. And wherever the cards lay, as you follow God and know Him and grow closer to Him by His Word, open daily, day and night, meditate on it, pray about it, have goals. We all have goals we've already set already. And just walk it day by day. Depend on God. Keep Him at the top of our list. That's what I will try and do for sure. Sometimes you make resolutions and lists, and it's all out of order because God is. Sorry about that. God is not at the top of it, and even second is still out of order. It's having God second on your list is like having God at the last of your list. He's not first. That's what matters. So for me, is trying to, again, I always come to this crossroads when we walk into a new year. Is where is our list and where does God fit into that list? If He's not at the top, then we got to do some quick reorganizing right now and then see how the rest of the year pans out. Keep God at the top and grow closer to Him. He knows already what we want in this new year as we started. And if we depend on His Word, our relationship with God is most important, then He says it. He says, then you will be successful in everything you do. Like I said, we can't do it on our own. We gotta have God in our corner to succeed. So you guys be careful. I think the rain is supposed to be pretty bad as today, tomorrow, maybe even Wednesday goes on. So wherever you are on the island, traveling, working, whatever you're doing, please be careful on the roads and just take it easy. Okay? Happy New Year. Enjoy you guys' week. Be blessed. Aloha.